Well, hello, that's me again, and I'm doing this video hating basically to do what I'm doing right now because by now thousands upon thousands of the all kinds of analysts and commentators kind of got on the bandwagon, so to speak, and started commenting on what everybody already know, and this is in effect what Russia did by basically starting to kill the U.S. dollar in earnest. And everybody knows now that since yesterday, Russia demanded the payments for the gas in rubles. And again, I have to say that I am on record for many years that, and I quote Mr. Michael Hudson all the time, including in my latest book, when he states that basically what is being taught as economics in the Western world, especially in the United States, it has nothing to do with the economy, really. It's all kinds of the absolutely whiteboard theories, from this modern monetary theory, the pricing, what have you, all this basically Wall Street and crap. And in fact, Michael Hudson is not alone, and there are a number of other real economists, American economists, who write about the fact that basically what passes for the economics in the United States and in the West in general is basically the method of speculation. And they say, oh yeah, capitalism is speculation. Sure, you have to kind of, speculate with something. There is nothing wrong per se in, speculating. But the point is, people are so involved in this monetary, in this finances stuff, in this US dollar as reserve currency and euros and all that, and all those currency boards and what have you, International Monetary Fund, then they forget really what I am, and again I have to honestly state, for years, many years, year after year, I say that two things define the real status of the state in terms of its actual physical power. I'm not talking about moral factors, which are important. And these are actual physical economy, which involves obviously resources, and its military power, which is derived from that. The rest of it is just merely derivative. And if somebody speculates with some stocks or some bonds or some virtual money, it's their problems, because they can blow this bubble until it bursts, and when it bursts, it kills them. Not all of them, but some of them will kill. Some of them will throw themselves out of the window on the skyscraper, in the skyscraper. And here's the deal. Russia has all two. She has both massive physical economy. She sits on about third of the world resources in energy and other material. And then now that Vladimir Putin says, let's start with demanding rubles for our gas, it suddenly sends shockwaves around the world. Well, so much for the gas station, which masquerades for country, as Mr. McCain used to say. But the truth is, what Putin is pursuing here. I love to use this anecdote about two bulls on the top of the hill who look down, and the young bull tells the old one, look at this herd of the cows there. Do you see this cute little cow? Let's fast go down there, fast approach this cow, and fast screw her. And the bull says, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna slowly come down to the valley, slowly approach this herd, and then slowly screw every single cow in this herd. This is what Putin, let's say combined Putin, if you wish, but basically Russian government did. It told, you know what, you want to sanction us? Well, how about we sanction you? And this is the first serious counter-sanction, so to speak, and guess what? It produced a shock and awe and completely threw their markets off the balance, because, well, yeah, if Russian economy is smaller than the economy of Netherlands, as they say, well, what a damn impressive impact this economy has. And the issue is very simple. how do you approach and how you buy something for rubles in Russia, especially energy? Well, you go to Russian International Currency Exchange and you buy rubles there. And guess what? Gas is just the start. The crude is coming, and we already know that Saudi Arabia also agrees basically in principle to take yuans for the crude. And then, of course, there is palladium, there are a huge number of the very precious and very high demand crucial resources which Russia sells around the world. And guess what? As Putin stated, let's start with, so that means it implies, well, almost openly stated, we'll start with gas and we'll proceed to, the next will be crude, the other, so to speak, step will be in the metals, the other thing will be in the other things, including some machines, which Russia actually sells quite well outside, and there you go. And then throw in here the India basically demanding, and I've been telling about this for a while now, demanding setting up the accounts between India and Russia in rubles and rupees, and there you are, guys. That's the end of the US dollar. Once the end of the US dollar happens, which already is happening, we are within this end, we are within this process, which is long in progress now. What do you have? As some people already say in Russia, I mean, they don't say, I disagree with them, but hey, who am I? But they say, well, yeah, United States will become a regional power. I say, well, yeah, the United States is going to be obviously a regional power, but it's also still going to be a global player. It's not going to be hegemon, as it's self-proclaimed, you know, and it's not this super duper military power as it thought itself and used this propaganda to blow everything out of proportion. So, but yeah, it's going to be global power, but economically, as I already stated, China dwarfs United States economically, absolutely dwarfs. Russia's economy is very large. It's much larger than the economy of Germany. And of course, we have a huge economy of India. We have the growing economy of Turkey. And you begin to look at this, it's like, oh yeah, there are so many players who actually produce a lot. Yeah, if you didn't know, actually India produces a lot. I'll give you one hint. India is one of the leaders in the space launches. Just if anybody didn't know that. Yeah, Indians launch a lot of commercial stuff there. So while there are some issues obviously with India, and there are no countries which do not have issues obviously, but it's just to give some impression to people that things are a little bit different as from how the West, combined West, tries to present it. And this situation with Russia finally just getting ruble going and basically rejecting both euro and US dollar, there you go, there's everything you need to know. And you know why Russia can do that? Well, because it is a superpower. It's economic and military superpower, and yeah, the only thing you can, Russia says now, try to change it. What can you do about it? Nothing. And that brings us back to the situation with Ukraine, and obviously I write and am explicit on the ridiculous, especially Anglo-American propaganda, which is risible. It's really shameful and embarrassing to look on those US generals and those military experts, quote unquote, who spew such a BS, is so sophomoric, totally militarily ignorant that what can you say? I mean, let them. They are butthurt, they have sour grapes, they need to really continue to pretend that they know something and they understand. They don't. But it is what it is. So, but I want to also point, so to speak, or focus a little bit of my attention here on the situation with the Kinzhals and Russia using hypersonic weapons. Obviously, it have been spun in the West, again, especially in the United States, which is, I mean, you need to be really high and you need to take a lot of crack, I guess, to come up with this. But yeah, the idea is Russians use hypersonic, those state-of-the-art weapons, because they ran out of weapons. Well, obviously, this sheer idiocy is just that, idiocy. And even Mr. Biden spun it this way, but he had to admit 2 days ago, and get this, this is the kind of fact which kind of goes missing from the explanation and commentators in the United States. It's the fact that President of the United States had to make a special point and discuss the use of the hypersonic weapons for some unknown reason. If they are all hype, as many so-called US scientists, and believe me, I know, they were also writing to me that, oh no, it's all hype, it doesn't work. And if it is all hype, why the US president, no less, POTUS, the president of the United States of America, has to go public and make the comment that, yeah, we have nothing to intercept it with, and basically it's a scary thing? Well, very simple. And I would want to remind you one very interesting thing, and this is idea, and this is the point which I write about non-stop and again for many years. I wrote probably 5 years ago, then my favorite guitar player, Alan Holdsworth, was still alive. And I believe it was the Guitar Player magazine, something like 2005, 2006, dual interview, or basically conversation between two of the greatest, Alan Holdsworth and John McLaughlin, Mahavishnu himself, who were discussing the guitar playing. And they came to the conclusion that, you know what, in the end, it is how you play acoustic guitar which defines if you can play guitar at all. Which I agree wholeheartedly. Greatest guitar players, they are universal. They are perfect both in the distorted way in the guitar, but they're also great in the acoustic way. And yeah, if you want to listen to Pat Metheny, if you want to. So, and yes, it's like, yeah, it's so obvious. You can you can be from Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and not being able to play. You have to down-tune the guitar, and it sounds like this wall of distorted sound. It covers your all mistakes and inability to play. But when you play acoustic, you can hear everything. And I drew the seemingly unrealistic for some people, but the reality is it's very relevant. The analogy that in the real war. It's how you fight conventionally, which only matters. This is how it defines itself. Well, you can have nuclear arsenal, whatever you want, but we know that nuclear arsenal is primarily, it's nuclear deterrent. It's the thing which exists to not allow the war. But if you want to fight a war, you better know how to do it conventionally. With tanks, aircraft, personnel on the ground, high precision weapons, C4 ISR, your recon, intelligence, all that thing. And one of the reasons the Kinzhal salvos, including this very hardened, deep underground bunker in Ivano-Frankovsk, and how it blew it, very deep underground, made it this shock and awe impression in the West, is because, yeah, Russians basically showed off. They showed, and I write about it all the time again, for many, many years. Here's our hypersonic weapon, here's how it was launched, and as Scott Ritter yesterday stated, turn on your radar and observe. And my God, they observed. And when you have this thing which you cannot intercept, and even President of the United States has to admit it, so what are you going to do about it? And the question is that Russia doesn't have only Kinzhal. Russia has the Iskanders, which are shorter version, and they are not aeroballistic, they are purely ballistic but highly maneuverable targets. And of course Russia has Zircon. So that means only one thing, and I've been on this from the get-go, and from the get-go of the Russian operation in Ukraine. It's the fact that you collapse C4 ISR of the enemy immediately. How do you do that? Very simple, standoff weapons, high precision standoff weapons, long range weapons. MiG-31K, which the carrier of the Kinzhal, which takes off from around Rostov in southern military district and approaches some midpoint in the neutral waters of the Black Sea. has under its coverage, so to speak, everything, including London, by Kinzhal. Russia evidently already has a regiment. It's 24 MiG-31Ks capable to work in the basically conveyor way, launching those Kinzhals, not to mention the fact that obviously Russia has a truckload of the slower subsonic but long-range calibers, 3M14, and now 3M14M comes up with the range of 4,500 kilometers. And then, of course, we have the now the not just initial operation capability, IOC, but actual capability, which is being basically placed and deployed on Russian ships, which is Zircon with 1,500 kilometer range. And that thing is even much worse than Kinzhal. And it also can attack basically with a Mach 9 any kind of ship or any kind of land target. And Russia also showed yesterday, not yesterday, 2 days ago, the salvo of the P-800 Onyx from Crimea at the land targets in Ukraine. And Onyx is this funny missile, you know, which is very smart actually. It's Mach 2.5 and it flies officially around 700 kilometers, but you know, somebody says that it's much longer than that, which I totally believe because I know. I mean, I served in the Soviet armed forces. So, and when you begin to demonstrate that thing, yeah, the issue which comes up here is NATO can run around in circles, whatever it wants, or jump, or lay, or crawl, whatever you have, or perform some, you know, I don't know, drama if they want, around Ukraine, but the incorrect premise of this whole operation could easily be removed now and thrown away as a pure speculation and butthurt of the so-called Western military analysts, which are not analysts to start with. And this one is that, oh, Russia has to go in Ukraine and do the blitzkrieg and do whatever, you know, just immediately take it down. No, that wasn't the plan from the get-go. The plan from the get-go is that Russia is not constrained by any time frame, and Russia is doing everything she can to avoid massive civilian casualties. And the fact is, even VSU, I'm not talking about the Nazi battalions or regiments, if you wish, or brigade-size formations, even that VSU itself is not the target to be annihilated completely, despite the fact that we're looking at about 20,000, probably more than that, actually killed, what is projected, but I think so the number will be much greater, because Russia doesn't want to really piss off many relatives, but of course the main consideration, 99% of the main consideration in Russia doing everything deliberately and slowly, is the fact that, of course, preserving of the civilian lives. If Russia would go full blitzkrieg, we would have a horrendous number of the civilian lives. Of course, whoever writes on this crap in Newsweek or whatever other magazines that Russians would afraid this civilian death because they would be afraid that NATO will interfere. NATO cannot interfere, just live with that. It's a paper tiger, and all those combat groups, what combat groups it's creating right now, what, 5,000 of the NATO soldiers? Just, it's like, it's a joke, for crying out loud, and they are well basically reconned and their positions are known. Russia has an excellent orbital constellation of their satellite recon and intelligence satellites and what have you. So it's like, yeah, I understand NATO has to show that it matters, that it still has the power. It doesn't. And any real conventional war with Russia, even if by some incredible hypothetical fantasy NATO is allowed to accumulate all required force or what it can muster now, including the United States, it will be a massacre anyway. I mean, people have to understand this. So here we are. So Russians trying to do it as cautiously as possible, not to create huge civilian casualties. There are some, it's inevitable, it's tragedy. And especially when you have those darlings of Western media and Western politicians, which are VSU and especially Nazi battalions, using people directly as the human shield. And that will be obviously exposed in full power and full force. As we already know, the war crimes tribunal is being set up in Crimea as we speak. So in this case, what can I say? We have today basically, again, Russia already is basically open about this. Today, Maria Zakharova, no less, already stated that Ukraine had the chance on the statehood, she lost it. So that pretty much describes to you what is going on. And militarily, Russia has no rush, and she will continue to mop up the basically cities which are necessary and try to open humanitarian corridors constantly to get out Ukrainian civilians, as many as possible, to prevent the casualties. And the demonstration of the hypersonic weapons has a lot of deterrent effect, because Russia essentially told to the West that not only we don't care about your currency now, we don't care about you militarily, because if you do anything stupid, just by pure conventional means, the statehood, the governmental control and military control of NATO will be collapsed within several hours. It will be all blown to smithereens, from the ministries of defense in every single European capital, to NATO headquarters, to US, to Pentagon, to what have you. So this is what it is, guys, and this is pretty much was in the open for a while now. And obviously now, with the basically dollar being killed by Russia, you see the whole world changing dramatically with incredible speed. And by the time we come out, hopefully without major conflict, on the other side, you will not recognize the world. It's already unrecognizable. Even the country I live in, and I love the United States, you know, when we moved here and what it is now, it's an unrecognizable country. It's a country we cannot recognize. It's not the United States we used to know. But the world also is already not the same. It is fully multipolar world, with Russia as one of the major power and economic poles. And well, ruble is just claimed its place now as one of the major currencies in the world. And you know what it means. It means the basically the death of the US dollar and the death of the US hegemony, self-proclaimed, but it's already largely dead. And why Russia does this, I just want to return to where I started. Because she can. Because she has enough military power to repel any kind of the stupid, attempts on undermine what Russia does economic. Simple as that. Now, if Germany still thinks that it can survive, well, they better start thinking really fast, because the window is closing. And my God, I really can empathize with German people, and I really empathize with my kind of virtual friend Bernard of Moon of Alabama, that he understands that Germany has committed an economic and cultural suicide. But you know what? We need to, at this stage, to accept this fact that Russia as a superpower moves the way she thinks it's necessary for her interest, and she does things the way she does it. And doesn't really matter anymore who thinks what about Russia. It's just the way it is. So that was what I was willing to talk about today. And as always, please subscribe. And those who can, please support me on the Patreon. And I'm getting a little bit deeper into the video production, so I will try to make my and I really wanted to, let's put it this frankly, go back to the fundamentals of the military operations and how geopolitics is influenced by it. But yeah, you can see yourself, events are unfolding like incredibly fast. So I have to comment on those, news of the day. So, and here I am. So guys, have a nice weekend, and just, have fun. Buckle up. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.